Welcome to the RacingRant preview for Canterbury, the 16th of August. We're doing this from Poo Corner.
Poo Corner slash Play-Doh Corner. Nothing like kids getting hold of your form guide and computer, putting Play-Doh all over it, sticking pages together.
That's all right. Obviously helping you out, Gord.
Yeah.
Look, a very attractive program at Canterbury tomorrow on a true rail. Now we know that the true rail will assist horses that are rails in run. It will assist leaders, but we also have fingers crossed for ability or talent winning out tomorrow, because it is a cracking card. And that's about all I've got to say about the prelude, but the opener is a 3-year-old maiden, where the favourite is Song Like, scratched from Beaumont today at $2.30, $4.20 is Showtime, $6.50 Fager, $6.50 Miser Brinker, $7.50 Ready Cat Go, and the roughie is 51 Kafka. We've lost the horse trained by, I don't know, this new trainer. I have to talk about it.
John O'Shea. John O'Shea.
Who's that trainer?
He's got a runner later on, doesn't he?
What's that called?
Parlez-vous.
Oh, has John O'Shea got that?
Yes.
Very sneaky indeed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he's making his debut as a trainer tomorrow. That's very exciting for him, I'm sure. Anyway, back to this first race. A Song Like will endeavour to punch through and hold the lead. Really, her only competition could be from what is intrinsically a fast horse, Showtime, but may not be ridden in that fashion. Fager looks for the box seat, and that's about as far as speed's concerned. Miser Brinker has been forward in his trials. I'm not sure whether the intention is actually to ride him forward, because pretty much every horse of Ronnie Quinton's is snagged at the start.
Yes, tends to be a tendency of theirs at the moment, which I'm starting to actually enjoy rather than be so frustrated about.
I've managed to counsel you, haven't I?
Yes, you have. You have. Every time I say it, you just use it to your advantage.
Don't get mad, get even.
Yeah. Very keen on number 1, Showtime in here. I think it's the best horse in the race. Trial could have been a little bit more stylish, but he did get the job done and did win. I don't mind just the 900 metre trial when you're coming into an 1100 metre race, particularly when I think you're clearly the best horse in the race and you have options from barrier 4.
What are the T-Berry options? Because that's, you say options, but then you need to remember who's riding. One of your favourite jockeys.
Yeah, but what about, did you see Huey today? Just didn't matter whether he was barrier 2 or whatever. 1 out, 1 back. 1 out, 1 back. He's absolutely obsessed with it, but it is an advantageous position. The one I was going to ask you about, because I'm kind of half against the favourite, Song Like. So
Ditto. Look, she goes from a situation, we'll just talk about the favourite, Song Like, where she controlled from a wide gate. Now she's got the inside gate and she looks the natural leader, but it's just never as comfortable when you're trying to get there from the inside. So I'd call that some sort of negative barrier switch. And look, she was up and running and did have a good opportunity to show her wares the other day at her home track. So I'd suggest that, whilst she's got things in her favour tomorrow, we need to be wary of the fact that she may not be an absolute talent, and in fact her pedigree is not suggesting that she's going to scale any heights.
Well, the way I look at things, so I see 0.8 lengths off Alizé when they gap the rest of the field. For me, that's enough to win this race. But as you said, she had all favours on that occasion. Alizé still wasn't showing its best behaviour. I don't think it had the pattern to suit, and it still sort of won comfortably. So normally I'd give that a big tick, but I've gone to your way of thinking there.
Right, that could be dangerous.
Showtime's a quality horse, but the one that actually has come second to what could be the horse of the carnival is Fager.
Could be. We'll know later with Beacon, who's running in the penultimate tomorrow.
Glenn has mentioned that it is the
standout for him.
The Cox Plate favourite.
He does like to nominate a blue colours provincial maiden horse.
He does. Yeah.
As a soon-to-be Group 1 winner.
Yeah. Yeah, it's showtime for me. Pretty keen. We'll be betting. Just would have liked a little bit more style in the trial.
Look, he's got some pretty decent SPs. Look, obviously, resuming in a Saturday race last time in at 15-4 caught my eye. I've pretty much spoken about Song Like. Fagar did run second to a very good horse, but did have a perfect run to do it.
Okay.
Miser Brink has been showing ability, but is unlikely to be able to show his ability tomorrow. And the other horse that's in the betting is Atmospherical's sister, Ready Cat Go, who has done some reasonable things in her trial. She had a short break, or a break, off her 1050 to come into the 735, and look, she went okay. I can understand the interest there. Kay McAvoy may well be giving this an advantageous run. So it looks an interesting race. Song Like is up and running and gets the race run to suit, but she needs to hold off a horse that I think is a lot better than her in number 1 Showtime.
Ready Cat's trial was Ready Cat Go's trial was quite nice, and that stable is on fire at the moment.
The stable is going very well. Race 2 is another 3-year-old race, and I'd suggest the ATC. Look, the 3-year-old races are really full of vim and vigour at the moment, and they're a bit wasted early in the card. I'd rather have them in the middle of the card, where you can get a bit more attention. But anyway, nonetheless, this race here, this is over 1200, and it's benchmark 73, and the market reads very, very even and wide. $5 Solar Patch is our favourite. $5.50 Albumin, $5.50 Villa Carlotta, $6 Super X, $6.50 Schubert, $10 Acumi, $11 Groundbreak, and $11 Moss Trip. So that's a beauty, isn't it? We've got 8 runners, and they range between $5 and $11. A betting heat if you've seen it.
Another great race, isn't it?
It is a very good race,
yeah.
And I'd suggest that Albumin will be keen from his wide draw. Schubert has the pace to go with him, and Super X will not give his alley away. The other possibility is Solar Patch, who was ridden off the speed first up at 1,000, and then ridden right up on the speed, second up at 1,200 when returning to City at Randwick some 11 days ago. So he could in fact dive through and take it up, leaving Albumin on the outside of the lead. Villa Carlotta settles off the speed on the inside with Acumi, and I had Groundbreak and Moss Trip at the back. Intriguing race. I would have thought that just to comment on some of the City form, Albumin returned with a win against some very tired older horses at Hawkesbury, and given that he started double the odds of Schubert at Rose Hill back in the autumn, and Schubert seemed a much better run, I was surprised that they were priced that way. Maybe you've got something to offer, Gord?
Well, you're not going to, it's a lightly raced horse, so you've not, SPs aren't quite so relevant.
Yeah, but they're all lightly raced, these horses.
Yeah, they are, but what I'm saying is you can choose to ignore the SP difference on 2 horses when they're lightly raced, because you don't actually know what capacity they have yet. The horse has done nothing wrong.
Who?
I mean, the only time it flopped Albumin was on the heavy track.
Of course it's done something wrong. It's gone and raced the old Battle Axes at Hawkesbury.
But it won by 1.5 lengths.
Absolutely legless. Like, all it did was control the race from the outside there.
But
and
it's done nothing wrong.
Yeah, and so I'm now going to criticise it for not doing enough right.
Okay, I'm fine about that. I said nothing wrong, and on top of that, so if it had to win by how many lengths for you to?
No, it didn't need to run in that race. That race is not a good platform for it, because what you want is a horse that's raced against other keen bean 3-year-olds. You don't want them running against rubbish, particularly from the provincials. It might be okay to run against city standard horses, but I think if you're going to go out wide and find an easy kill, I don't think that helps you your competitiveness.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I know
Train and play with the best.
I think so. All right. Do you want to start with what you're keen to back?
I'm keen to back number 2, Villa Carlotta. Horse. If you notice its first start, so it's had 4 starts, 1 on the slow and 3 on the heavy. And on the slow track, it was the best out of the barriers. It pinged the lid and was dragged and still won the race. And there was another horse called Alizé in that race, which
who's that?
Which was carrying on like a bit of a pork chop.
I was carrying on with Christian Reith. That's what was carrying on.
But it was a very. I think there's a few form lines there that are very solid, and I'm liking. It's weird. I'm liking James Cummings taking over the Sheik stable. I'm also liking Chris Lee's taking over the Cummings horses. You know what I mean? Like, you'd think it'd be one way or the other. But
I think particularly a filly, because Chris is noted for his good work with females.
Yeah, so
horses, that is.
Yeah. So I'm pretty keen on number 2, Villa Colorado. I really like the trial. Its first trial. Invincible Gem, Raiden. Raiden, I think, came out and ran short price favourite in the bush somewhere and didn't do much, but it wasn't really pushed out Villa Carlotta, and it wasn't fit on that particular occasion, and it's had another 1,000-metre trial since then. I think it's a good bet at around the $5.50 mark. But yet
how
again,
does he get to 1-1 from gate 1, Gord?
He'll manage it. But then if you're saying fence in run, it doesn't really matter, does it? You don't want him to get 1-1.
No, although the weird thing is the fence and run doesn't necessarily work to the advantage of those that are drawn inside. It's somehow, I don't know, thrusting into a rails position that seems to work better. But I can't quite explain it, so I'll leave it to someone else to write in and make sense of what I'm trying to establish.
And as soon as you watch that race in Newcastle, the D'Argento Smart Edge race, you said that's going to be a good form race.
Yeah, you said a lot about that last week. I don't think Smart Edge was given much opportunity to demonstrate what form may come from that. Super X, he did have the advantage of the best ground at Kembla, but he did thrust himself at the line. Okay. Are you interested in playing him? He's one of the favourites.
There's only one play for me. I get to take less than 20% about a horse with Hugh Bowman on that might just be better as well. That's always a bet for me.
So what about Solar Patch, who's returned as a gelding and was awesome in a very weak race, obviously, first up at Gosford, and then, straight to town on a Saturday in a hot little race, and contested the pace with Addictive Nature and just stuck on.
I thought Solar Patch's run was absolutely sensational, but on the day, obviously, Mark and I were out there at the races. I said, well, that's not a good sign for Addictive Nature, because it finished too close. So I don't know whether I've overthought this and I've just automatically stamped that race as a poor form race. You got done by Brisbane form and you stuck on too well. So I just pretty much thought, I don't like your form, but that could be a mistake, because I think actually the best run in the race was Solar Patch, who's now back to Wednesday. So maybe I've got a little bit confused there. But it's light, right, Mark? We look very dark.
We do look very dark, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. All they need to do is hear us, Gord.
Oh, podcast.
Yeah? Interestingly, of course, pre-gelding, Solar Patch was well astern of Albumin and Schubert. So I'm now going to segue into Schubert there, who has had a trial since he came back to town. So he's third up with a trial. He ran in the hot Wednesday Addictive Nature race, as opposed to the cold Saturday Addictive Nature race. Yep. Whilst he may be touch exposed, he's also very, very, he's perfectly seasoned for this race. Ground break, I have no opinion of his debut run. He's been gelded as well and ended up in the size produce in Melbourne, but obviously he's got connections there that need to be considered. We've mentioned Super X, and I'm not really enamoured of the bottom one. That is Akumi, but Moss Trip is a horse that I can't get a handle on, Gord. She looks to me like she might be Missile Coda, trialling very badly.
It's just so confusing, isn't it? That stable, what do you do? Sometimes you're better off not watching the trials. You should just see that it is in this stable. It's had one start for one win, and just make your decision on that. I was trying to find, I needed something more to entertain it, and I couldn't find anything else.
But it's interesting that he scratched it from the Beaumont today, to run in this hot little race tomorrow. He did debut with Courtney van der Werf, and got the job done. And tomorrow it's resuming for Keren. So I think she's a wild card and a slightly scary horse in a very thick race. Yep. I do concur with you that Villa Carlotta is eminently likeable. As I said, I've made the case for Solar Patch, and I would also be in Schubert's corner with a query on Moss Trip. Race 3, and finally we get to see this horse again, up and rolling. Everyone's been waiting with bated breath for how many months? It was Easter Monday, so it's 4 months ago. And yes, there it is, up and rolling. No Glyn tomorrow, so everyone will be very sad about that. The market does have him as slight favourite. I imagine he'll be pronounced favourite, but anyway, market says $3.20 up and rolling, $3.80 Nocio, $5 no pushover, $10 Nahima, $12 Dream Lane, $12 Satirical Magic, $15 Aragold, $16 Luna Spin, who was particularly disappointing at Tari last start, but on a quick back up here. Now, the tempo is probably supplied by No Pushover, who's returned for a new trainer in the bush this preparation, Luke Pepper, who does a good job out of Canberra, and she's been prominent and an easy winner at 2 starts back. Satirical Magic shouldn't be too far away, which is not by design, I imagine. Nahima gets on the speed. Dream Lane, Luna Spin and Up and Roll, and I had midfield fence. Nocio going back with Aragold. Talk to me about Nocio here, Gord, because he does have a lead-up run over this course and distance to a subsequent Saturday winner, and he also looked to drive at the line.
Yeah, it's one where you start off with a tricky sort of positive and negative situation. Is that, yeah, it's coming from Melbourne. It's not been smashing it up and down Melbourne, so I'm not that interested. But then you see it running in a decent race against Special Missile, who's absolutely flying at the moment and was sort of like really strong against Quiet Lake. So I sort of went into it thinking, okay, well, I've got to interrogate this horse more closely. A pet hate of mine is when from a long way out you have to be ridden aggressively to keep up. This was definitely the case with this horse. I did cut this race down to only having 2 chances. So I had a very close look at both of them and ended up strongly in Up and Rolling's corner. But, you know, to pull that much ground off a horse that was flying your last start means that you do have something, but it's considerably deep in its preparation. It had to be scrubbed too much. Yeah. So there were just a few too many negatives, which meant that I was keen to back Up and Rolling because I thought No-Show was the one providing the price, because I couldn't see anything else taking up a large percentage of the market.
Okay, look, I can see the appeal of both of those. I did think that No Pushover, who's a mare that's returned in great style for a new trainer. I don't have a great opinion of her previous trainer. I do have a good opinion of a current trainer. So I'd suggest that he is getting the best out of her, and she also occupies an advantageous on-pace position. I speak of number 2, No Pushover. The only other horse, the only other horse I seriously consider is Nahima, who raced wide and on the speed in a Saturday Mares race won by Philosophy. She's sort of third up off a short-ish break with T. Clark on board. Aragold has won this course and distance, has blinkers on, was very hard in the market at Warwick Farm last time, but he's only a fluker here. So, yeah, look, I was unhappy with the price of Nocio. Up and Rolling has obvious claims, and I wanted to suggest that 2 mares had chances as well.
Do you reckon we should break for the quaddie legs? Because it doesn't normally look like that.
But Gord's very unhappy about the fact that he's looking brown instead of red. So we'll call the end of part 1, come back with the last 4 from Canterbury.